it's such a gift to be here and have all of this time together to collaborate really intensively over the past couple of weeks. And what we're sharing today is 2 short studies that have really come out of our daily movement and breath and music practice together. So they're not a performance per se, but you're coming into part of our process in development. We'll explain a little bit as we go. This work is part of a long-term collaboration. John and I started working together about 3 years ago, and we've developed several performances and installations and journal publications. And Laura and Tracy have joined us recently. Over the course of this residency, we want to stress their integral role as collaborators in many aspects of the creative and conceptual development of our work. So the 2 studies we'll share today, they're in preparation for a longer performance that's going to take place next April in Montreal. And that performance will have 3 dancers and 3 live musicians. So today, 1 dancer, 1 musician.
So we're going to start with a study, and you can see there are some headphones sitting here. I've been interested for a long time in music where the different musicians play in different tempos that are speeding up and slowing down, differently from each one. And so I've written a little study for myself and Tioma and Laura are going to perform. So we'll sit and we'll listen to these basically metronomes just speeding up and slowing down, but these allow us to diverge in tempo and come back together and so on and so forth. So this comes out of the breathing practice that Tioma's been working with for a while. So why don't we just start?
Dive in.
Great.
Okay, thank you for joining us for that. So we mentioned before that this is something that has really come out of our daily practice together, which involves a lot of breathing, which everyone hears from outside the door every day. And in this practice, we're drawing from our experiences with meditation practice, with yoga, we're doing freediver training. We are also, of course, drawing from our backgrounds in dance and somatic practices. So it involves movement, it involves lots of breathing, especially in a group together. Something I'm really interested in as a choreographer is finding extremes or intensity in exertion, but also in relaxation for performers. And of course, as we practice, what those thresholds are, shifts and changes, so we have to keep developing and changing the activities together. What counts as extreme is of course very context dependent. It's really different doing this activity in a closed studio situation rather than in performance. Of course it elevates our heart rates and there's all sorts of other reactions happening in our bodies which make us our extremities. For example, in fact, Laura, performer, is wearing an electrocardiogram right now. We're working with different types of biosensors, but especially the electrocardiogram. And we will take measurements during performance and during rehearsal. And of course, they're very different in terms of the elevation of heart rate. So we reach the extremes more easily in performance. Another part of our interest in using breath in our practice is that it creates really interesting patterns of heart rate variability. And we're using the data from the ECG to produce tempo for musicians in real time. So we're going to do a little demo of this, and John and Laura will speak a little bit more.
Okay.
Just need to have a little bit of
Yeah.
maybe explain the use of the ECGs in the trio.
Right, so it's a little hard to talk after this. So she's wearing an ECG, and we process the signal and look for the heartbeat, essentially. So basically what happens is that as we're processing the signal, when there's a spike in the ECG, Stacy will hear a click in her earpiece. And we do it as quickly as possible and with as little latency as possible. So it really is trying to create this mediated connection between Stacy and Laura. And so what I've been interested in, like I said before, was time, like tempo as a function, tempo that varies as a function of time. In this case, heart rate really isn't a stable thing. Like if you say your heart is at 120, it's really at 120 for a beat or maybe a couple of beats. But in fact, through different types of breath, which is one of the things we're exploring in this piece, through different types of breathing, through movement, if you put your head down, if you sit down and stand up, your heart changes really dramatically. And in terms of musical tempo, it's a huge variation. And so for me, that's very interesting, and one of the things we're investigating in the next study, among a number of things, is just how a performer like Stacy can create a relationship with this changing tempo, because it's never stable and it's never predictable. And so we're looking for ways of finding new musical tempo, and in fact, the variation in some cases is so fast that it doesn't register as a change in tempo, but rather almost into things that sound like rhythm, essentially.
Let's play it.
We'll do a little
demonstration.
demonstration.
And to be clear, this isn't a problem. Replacing the metronome with the ECG makes some challenges and also possibilities within a performance situation.
So this is just a sonification of the pulse that's coming from the electrocardiogram on Laura's body. that, but something fairly similar. So Stacy will derive her tempo throughout the piece from the music.
Yeah. And just one other entry point into the piece, and reason that I'm interested in working with breath is that different uses of breath really change the way in which we use the weight of our body in gravity, and that in turn can create really different rhythms or types of musicality in the movement, the choreography of the dancer. So the rhythms that are happening in the choreography are not tied to the music, nor is the tempo of the music tied to the choreography. We're interested really in the musicality of the dance and the music, both being complex, such that they can come into a relationship where there are some rhythmic textures within this relationship. So, we mentioned earlier that these are studies in preparation for a show next April, 3 dancers, 3 musicians, and as part of this, something that we're considering is having the entire audience facing outwards to the exterior of the stage space, which is marked here by these little blue pieces of tape. So you'll sit facing away from the stage, and you'll have a little mirror through which you can watch fragments of the performance. We have about 50 mirrors, so it may not be everyone, but if you're interested, you can find a spot. It would be lovely to have people all the way around in a circle with the pieces of little blue tape, and I'm going to come give you mirrors.